It's the Fo Yo 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 Games with the latest Game Informer. Just hit the mailbox today. Who is that? I don't know who that is, but the Callisto Protocol 346 kinda looks like Robert Downey Jr., but not really. Let's see what it's about. Advertisements: Funko, The Goonies, Never Say Die. Does it have the Funko dice as the Funko miniatures game? Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, you can get you a Star Wars pinball machine. Now they're doing little pinball machines for $5.99 each. Funko George Costanza of Seinfeld, $12.99. Ghostbusters glass shot set, $13.99. GoPro Hero 9 Black, $3.99. Alright, and the editor's note. Video game movies are important. Sonic the Hedgehog can't shake his nostalgia. I've carried this thought for decades. Whenever a new Sonic game hits the market, I see his history as the primary selling point. The games that pay homage to the classics fare better than those trying to evolve beyond the original's wrappings. I was convinced Sonic's footprint in games would always be of the Sega Genesis mold. Sega tried to move Sonic forward, even turning him into a werehog and sending him to King Arthur's realm. However, the reality is, people only seem to care about Sonic running fast from left to right and through a loop. Nah, people like Sonic railing with the soaps on his feet. And then the Sonic the Hedgehog movie hit in 2019. I saw it. I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was a Sonic movie. It had little to do with this universe. I believe any animated animal could have stepped into his shoes and it would have worked just as well. Pitch Alvin and the Chipmunks and friends are from a different dimension, and that's why they can talk. Sure, that idea is as true to Alvin's history as the Sonic movies is to Sonic's. While the first Sonic movie was a fun, family-friendly experience, it pulled very little from the actual game. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is a whole other story. I adore this film. It does the characters justice like no video game movie did before it. And Mortal Kombat 1 was pretty good. Much like Jim Carrey's interpretation of Dr. Robotnik evolving from an eccentric scientist to the magnificent mustachioed villain, Paramount knew what fans wanted from the sequel and didn't hold back on diving deep into Sonic's universe. Tails, Knuckles, the Chaos Emeralds, it was all wonderfully integrated, and the floodgates appear wide open for whoever comes next. After a second viewing of the movie, I wanted to play another Sonic game, a desire that hasn't burned within me since the Sega Genesis days. It impressed me so much that I am now back into Sonic's fandom. We can laugh and groan over how bad video game movies typically are, but they matter. And if done right, they can have an impact even on someone like me who spent decades with Sonic. Video games deserve better in the movie space. I hope other movie studios holding video game licenses take a good look at what fans enjoy and do games justice. I now found myself excited about the next Sonic film, the TV show spinoff, and the next video game, Sonic Frontiers. An experience that will again try to break new ground for this iconic character. We'll have more on this exciting title in the next month's issue. Okay, the Callisto Protocol on April 25th. Man, we'll just get to it when we get to it. Okay, Evil Dead the game. The horror genre is one of gaming's strongest. From the suspenseful thrillers to the splatterfest, we are spoiled with jump scares and amazing chainsaw abusing gameplay. Evil Dead looks like it's going to scratch more horror itches and also deliver awesome fan service. I can't wait to stomp on some mini asses. Thanks for the great story. And let's pick. Alright, I'm not big into asymmetrical multiplayer, but I love the Doom games. Hearing that Evil Dead is made by a group of ex-ID Software developers has my interest piqued. I watched some of the videos you posted on YouTube, and it appears to have the same refreshingly smooth frame rate. It also looks drop dead gorgeous in a really disturbing way. I tried playing Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight, but the tech just wasn't there to back up the concept. If Evil Dead videos represent real gameplay, having seasoned veterans that made Doom games could be a huge game changer for the genre. What's your take, GI? We're blown away. Yeah, they're blown away. All right, endemic gaming. I don't see life getting back to the way it used to be before the pandemic. Before the lockdowns, I would go to Quakecon every year. My long distance gaming friends would gather there for a weekend of gaming. Bethesda just announced this event is going to be virtual again this year. Large gatherings like Quakecon scream of super spreader events, and I understand why Bethesda made this decision. I'm sad that one of my favorite times of the year is gone. Do you think Quakecon and similar cons will get back to the old days? We're hopeful things will get back to normal, but recent gaming conventions like GDC were spreading grounds for COVID. Oh, I mean, the board game space, I think they just had Gen Con, didn't they? I think Gen Con was alright. But anyway, Fortnite. Moon Knight was just added as a playable character in Fortnite, complete with his Mr. Knight alternative look. I now have over 25 Marvel characters in this game, and they all look amazing. Is Fortnite quickly becoming one of the best Marvel experiences out there? Yes, we are impressed by the number of Marvel heroes and villains in Fortnite. Okay, Lego Dimensions. Skipping Lego Dimensions. Nice cat Mario. I like 10-year-old. Okay, somebody got some 3D rendered art. That's looking amazing. Shorter games. I've gotten to the point in life where I prefer shorter games to fit in those rare quiet moments in the day. More and more, I find myself drawn to indie games that give satisfying, complete but short experiences. My wife has been playing Elden Ring since it came out and is loving it. But I've played through 7 or so games in this time. Iconoclast, Evoland, and Cosmic Star Heroine may not get the same attention as bigger titles, but they are great games to be sure. And while I still love and hope to get some of the longer experiences in my back catalog, I find more and more that there is a lot of filler that goes into many of those games. Yeah, a lot of fetch quests. Alright, skipping along. Celebrating 20 years of Kingdom Hearts. How an unexpected magical collaboration captivated gamers for 2 decades by Kimberly Wallace. When the Heartless came, that's when everything changed. From those words in the very first Kingdom Hearts game, who could have predicted the wild roller coaster ride the series will become? Part of what makes Square Enix and Disney's collaboration so endearing is its mind-blowing existence, and the fact that the action RPG sprawling narrative kept fans tuned in for 20 years, no matter how big or small the reveal. With such a milestone under its belt, we look back on the series with a lot of heart. More camera again, more stuff again. Entering Kingdom Hearts. It started with an elevator pitch, literally. As revealed in a 2004 IGN interview, producer Shinji Hashimoto met a Disney executives. Yeah, they misspelled that. Met a Disney executives on an elevator ride. At the time, Square Enix and Walt Disney Japan's offices shared the same building. Hashimoto made the most of his elevator ride and pitched the executive on a collaboration. This unexpected meeting set into motion the Kingdom Hearts we know and love today. Kingdom Hearts is now a juggernaut series with 13 installments and 35 million copies shipped worldwide. However, the project was initially met with skepticism. People didn't know what to make of a game bringing beloved Disney and Final Fantasy franchise characters together in a new universe. The unlikely combo seemed messy. Even the thought of fusing a more mature series like Final Fantasy with the wholesome Disney brand was odd to envision. How would Square Enix pull that off? Tetsuya Nomura, who was getting more recognition after his work on Final Fantasy VII, was up for the challenge. Nomura stepped into the director role for the first time in his career, and has worked on the series ever since. Nomura became the heart of the series, taking us on a journey starring the always positive Sora and his devotion to saving his friends. He is a very bright character in general, Nomura told us in an E3 2018 interview. There are a few times where Sora is on the edge of despair, but because he's so bright and he has that personality, he quickly brings it back to a neutral state. I think that's a strength he has, and another strength he has is this trust and belief in others. I think that's always been what helped him through the storyline. Skipping around. The Disney Connection. Seeing how Square Enix incorporates various Disney elements into the series has been one of its more intriguing aspects. Disney carefully controls how its property is used and must approve everything. In many interviews, Nomura has said this process is complicated. It's why Mickey, who later became a bigger character, was only in one scene of the first game. It's not surprising that Disney would be extra protective over the face of its worldwide brand, but there was another reason. Mickey's Magic Mirror was debuting around the same time, and Disney didn't want the character to be prominent in another game. Okay, at the very least, we got plenty of screen time with Donald and Goofy, Sora's main party members. While Donald hasn't always held his own in the healing department, watching the trio's camaraderie grow has been a highlight. Nodding to another Disney film, they really consider themselves the Three Musketeers, shouting "all for one and one for all." On Keyblade creation. Sora's iconic weapon to fight back against the Heartless is the Keyblade. Through the years, it's had plenty of striking designs that often match the various Disney worlds, from Tron's neon dual disc to a tribute to Cloud Strife with the Fenrir. The series is full of memorable designs. Director Tetsuya Nomura said he works closely with the designer Daigo Tsukada to get these just right. Back at E3 2018, he shed more light on the process when we interviewed him. I never told Daigo Tsukada to do this, but at the same point, he started bringing me 3 concept arts for one Keyblade, and I would select from there what I like. He said, so sometimes I'd be like, I like the tip of the Keyblade. Can you keep this? Or I like the grip. Can you bring this design to be here? There are some Keyblades I just like at first glance, and I'm like, this is the one. It seems what he does, and he takes a lot of different images of the base world. He kind of has a mosaic on his screen, and he just selects and chooses what theme or motif he wants to use. That's the creative process he goes through, and I just select from there. Consider Yoko Shimomura on creating the iconic music. First time I played Kingdom Hearts, I think I was jamming Tech 9 in the background instead of listening to the music, so I'll just go ahead and skip the iconic music. Kingdom Hearts 3 also tapped into the allure of the Disney theme parks by adding its attractions, such as the Mad Tea Party and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad for Sora to use in battle. At the recent anniversary event, Nomura said since the series has become more well-known, he doesn't have as much freedom as he once did. But his development ideology hasn't changed. At the same time, we're also seeing Disney embrace the series much more than before. The Wonderful Spring of Mickey Mouse cartoon recently featured a Keyblade in a box Minnie holds, and there's a Keyblade Easter egg in a trailer for the upcoming Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers film. The Heart of Things, a new era. I've been having these weird thoughts lately, like, is any of this for real or not? When Sora uttered these words in the first Kingdom Hearts game, no one could have predicted the weight they hold in the series' future. Kingdom Hearts 4 was just unveiled. Read our preview on page 60, and its apparent change is in the air. Most notably, Sora wakes up in a world that looks very close to ours, with his appearance much more human to match. Kingdom Hearts 4 is the beginning of the Lost Master arc, marking a new era for the series. That's wild. Where it goes from here is anyone's guess, but Kingdom Hearts is not an ordinary series, and that's what keeps us watching its every move. Okay. Well, play the series in Nomura's preferred order. Newcomers often ask what's the best way to approach the series now that all the games are out. Birth by Sleep is a prequel, which caused people to wonder if they should start there. Many also ask if you can skip around and still understand the story. Tetsuya Nomura has his own preference for how he thinks you should play the series. I would recommend going in the order of release dates, especially because the story hints at things that will happen in future releases. He told us in 2018. I feel it's more interesting that way. Of course, that's not to say you can't play in chronological order. Okay, and industries ebb and flow. Former PlayStation boss Jack Tretton on acquisitions, cloud gaming, E3, and more. All right, let me hit the coffee. A nice Rugrats mug, nice Nickelodeon mug. I love it. All right. Jack Tretton was the president of and CEO of Sony Computer Entertainment America from 2006 to 2014. But his history with the PlayStation brand stretches back to its very beginnings. He joined Sony in '95 and worked on the team that created its first home console, the PlayStation. Tretton continued his work with the PlayStation team before becoming SCEA's chief in 2006. As president, he was the face of PlayStation in marketing, on E3 stages and interviews and more. His legacy in PlayStation, but when talking to Tretton, it's clear he loves all video games, not just the ones PlayStation makes, and the industry surrounding them. He's now the CEO of Power Up Acquisition Corporation, a special purpose acquisition company, but video games are still his bread and butter. Game Informer recently spoke with Tretton about the state of the game industry, and he's especially fascinated with the acquisitions happening this year. On acquisitions, it started with Take-Two Interactive, a parent company behind Grand Theft Auto series, and announcing mobile giant Zynga announcing and acquiring mobile giant Zynga for nearly $13 billion. Then a week later, Microsoft shared it was buying Activision Blizzard, the company behind Overwatch and Call of Duty, for a colossal $68.7 billion. 2 weeks after that, Sony revealed it was bringing Bungie under its umbrella for $3.6 billion, and followed that up by purchasing former Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs executive producer Jade Raymond's new company, Haven Studios. As rumors of additional purchases swirl, Tretton says 2022 is the most amazing year of acquisitions he's ever seen. There's a way to look at virtually everything that happens as being glass half full or glass half empty, and you can find ways to come up with negatives about these acquisitions, but I think the positives far outweigh the negatives, says Tretton. And the positives are that it brings attention to an industry that's already $200 billion and growing. And even though it's more than double the size of the box office and the music industry combined, I still think you find a lot of people out there that don't appreciate how big and sophisticated and mainstream entertainment gaming is. Put some respect on gaming's name, especially board gaming. All three of y'all. That's why he thinks the industry's true rival lies outside the gaming space. The competition in the video game industry is not Nintendo versus Sony versus Xbox, Tretton says. It is video games as an entertainment form against watching TV, going to concerts, whatever other forms of entertainment you have. So the gaming industry is competing for people's time and mindshare. And the more great entertainment experiences there are, the more that people in the video game business and the people that enjoy playing video games have to choose from. Online service gaming. On cloud gaming. Another game industry shift Tretton didn't foresee is the rise of cloud gaming. He was aware of its potential. Sony Cloud Gaming Services, PlayStation Now, launched right before Tretton's departure, but he didn't expect it to take hold so fast, thinking the technology wasn't really there during during his final years at Sony. He saw the journey to cloud gaming taking 7 to 10 years. However, he recognizes that the exponential growth and believes cloud gaming is a trend to watch. The experience is getting better for gamers. The value is getting better, and both PlayStation and Xbox have pretty good offerings, Tretton says, before noting Nintendo's service is getting better too. On E3, skipping E3, the Overwatch 2 beta is proof that heroes never die. And let's kind of cap this paragraph off, cap this article off. Tretton says he doesn't think E3 is as valuable and necessary as it's been in the past, but video games still need their own premiere event. Some would argue that Jeff Knightley's annual show, the Game Awards, has become that. Still, Tretton says if E3 is done for, it's a loss for the industry and its ability to really celebrate and trumpet all the innovation and great things that it does. So I'd love to see it come back. All right, Overwatch 2 feels like a redemption arc. I've been playing the PvP beta for just under a week now, and the nostalgia factor is palpable. Ability reworks, new arenas, and the controversial player count might still alienate conservative fans, while meager info about the decoupled PvE mode is undeniably worrisome. Nevertheless, I'm confident in the effectiveness of Overwatch's tried and true formula. The hero changes reveal that individual strategies are as significant as team play. Cassidy, Mai, and Bridget no longer paralyze foes with flashbangs, frost sprays, or shield batches. Doomfist has been repurposed as a tank, focusing less on outright eliminations and more on drawing aggression. Orisa gallops across arenas with gusto, impaling enemies with a javelin and steadily stampeding any weakened targets. The dreaded Bastion is more mobile and a little less deadly now, and Sojourn power slides past front lines with railgun storing devastating energy from her primary fire. The various character modifications smartly create a level playing field where no single team composition determines a match's win or loss condition. Last paragraph. No one can predict Overwatch 2's success, but the impressive Twitch viewer count might foreshadow the popularity resurgence the franchise desperately needs. There are enough small to medium scale tweaks in place to encourage excitement. I, for one, will be a launch day player. Still, a robust story mode and more nuanced multiplayer identity will be the real difference maker. My friends are my power. The Kingdom Hearts characters who brought light to our darkest days. One of the strongest Keyblade wielders, Aqua, has all the makings of a hero. However, her selflessness in making huge sacrifice for her friends makes her worthy of respect. And not many people can face the darkness and live to tell the tale. She truly is a light to cut through the shadows. Riku. Ever hate that friend who's good at heart but runs into some dark times? Riku goes through a lot in his journey for redemption, and highlighting his growth and enduring friendship with Sora. The difficult path allows him to become a dominant force in fighting for his friends and their future. Sora, my summer vacation is over. Who knew this phrase would crush our hearts in more ways than one? Roxas role in Sora's journey is emotional, and you can't help but feel endeared to him, especially as he eats sea salt ice cream with his pals. You also have to admire his rebellious streak. Kingdom Hearts turned this adorable and humorous Disney mascot into a fierce fighter, crucial to the series' complex plot. King Mickey's powerful attacks always come at just the right time, but it's his moving arc with Riku where he really shines, showing a different side to the character. Like Roxas, Zion has a poignant role in Sora's tale, and seeing her embrace it makes for one of the series' most touching scenes. Zion starts out shy and guarded, but watching her open up to Roxa and Axel and accept herself is a bright spot. We'll also never look at seashells the same again. Don't know what that's referring to. The glory of the hunt. The villains we hope to see in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Starting with Kraven. Okay, our Spidey sense started tingling again in late 2021 when Insomniac Games gave us our first look at Marvel Spider-Man 2, slated for release in 2023. This next game appears to be a sequel to both Peter Parker and Miles Morales' standalone games, and we see the Spider-Man fighting side by side in a brief teaser trailer. Skipping around, Green Goblin, but not the way you think. Even with Venom leading the messaging from the trailer, we believe Spider-Man 2 will be telling Green Goblin's origin story. Doc Ock wasn't revealed in any of the pre-release marketing for Peter Parker's inaugural game, and the same will likely happen for Green Goblin. If Harry bonds with the symbiote and potentially becomes Venom, Norman will likely do anything to save him, an endeavor that will likely be his undoing. To fit with the dark theme, the Green Goblin probably wouldn't have a smile on his face and a pointy hat. We believe Insomniac's version could be closer to the demonic version we sometimes see in the comics. Lizard, 95% odds. Cyrus Goldstein, okay, a creator, 60% odds. A creator of high-tech weapons, series has ties to Miles Morales' Black Cat, Hammerhead, Prowler, and a good number of players in Insomniac's Spider-Man universe. Series could begin as a villain, supplying powerful arms to a faction, but switch to helping Peter and Miles develop tech that could take down Venom and Goblin. Spencer Smythe and the Spider Slayers. Who are those? Odds 50%. Technology is a huge part of the Spider-Man games and likely will be again in the next chapter. If Spider-Man dons the black suit or the player gets the chance to control Venom for a moment, the violence will be amplified, meaning enemies may need to be de-limbed or smashed to bits. And robots are great for that, especially those designed to hunt and kill Spider-Man. Old man Spencer Smythe and his Spider Slayer army fit the bill perfectly. He could bring his Goblin Slayers if Norman is rampaging. And Juggernaut, I'm the Juggernaut trick. Okay, making the future of games. Okay, 2 years after its reveal, Epic Games released Unreal Engine 5, hosting a State of Unreal presentation on April 5th to mark the occasion. It wasn't a show geared towards players, appealing more to game developer audience. As such, fans might have missed some vital information, including a game reveal and the engine's potential. Of course, a new engine means updated technology for making the games we love. A dynamic lighting tool, Lumen, quick character creation app, MetaHuman, and impressive-looking rendering technology, Nanite, and more look to take full advantage of new-gen hardware. Epic Games has released all of this for no upfront fee, along with Lyra, pictured above, a ready-made shooter that can be used as a foundation for other games, and thousands of free assets, some of which fans saw in last year's The Matrix Awakens demo. Yeah, don't use that in the marketing. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. That was in last issue. Kingdom Hearts 4. Might use the engine, looks like. New Witcher game. Toss a coin to your Witcher. Oh, Valley of Blindy. Dragon Quest 12. New Tomb Raider game. Playdate. Another one of these joints. That's the one I sent the message about. A tiny pocket full of nostalgic joy. In an era of 4K visuals, 3D spatial audio, and sprawling open world designs, there's something oddly refreshing about a new handheld device trying to emulate the earliest Game Boy and Game Watch experiences. Playdate is a retro-inspired indie handheld built entirely to deliver novel experiences in a pocket-friendly format. From its bright and friendly appearance to its often whimsical games, it's clear the Playdate's name was chosen with purpose. Like a meetup between childhood friends. This is an experience meant to recall youth and simplicity and delight those who pick it up through an array of small, entertaining activities. The Playdate makes an excellent first impression. The charming yellow handheld may be tiny, but feels solid in hand. The buttons are clicky and responsive, and the side crank, the system's most significant innovation, is satisfying to twist round and round and round. The included speakers are crisp, clear, and capable of robust volume for their size. Or you can just plug in the preferred headset into the included jack. The small reflective black and white screen nails the nostalgic vibe it's going for, instantly calling to mind those first successful handheld games that older players may remember from youth. However, the small screen and absence of backlight, what? I thought we beat that with Game Gear, are also Playdate's biggest failures. While it might offer a throwback experience, I don't think I've ever found myself missing those heady days of eye strain from trying to read minuscule text or constantly tilting my device to catch the best light. The Playdate must contend with both problems. In bright outdoor sunlight, the Playdate is at its best, but in indoor settings or later in the day outside, a nearby direct light source is nearly essential. Even with excellent vision, I needed regular breaks from play to prevent significant eye strain. Harken to the Virtual Boy. All right, but anyway, last paragraph. Spellcork has players stirring up regents to make magic productions with a crank twist. Battleship Godius is a variation on 2D space shooters, but with a crank to rewind time when things go wrong. Interesting. And Executive Golf DX has you shooting a golf ball up the proverbial corporate ladder with desk and copy machines are as obstacles. Not every game clicked for me, but that's sort of the point. Each of these small concept games is an experiment likely only to capture the attention of certain players, but the joy of discovering these unknown projects is easily half the fun. If you come out with several favorites on the other side, all the better. Grade B-. The charm and nostalgia of the black and white screen wear off, and poor lighting can ruin the fun. Strong battery life, rechargeable via USB-C plug-in, sturdy construction, and a great opening slate of games are reasons to jump on the Playdate bandwagon. Even if not all the first games are winners, they're all surprising and will make you smile. $180. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is too, so they can just roll out the next version, I'm sure, with like a OLED display and all. But anyway, switching things up, we caught up with the iconic former president and COO of Nintendo America to chat about his favorite moments at his time in Nintendo. All right, 33 minutes. We have the book to go, so we'll just skim through this. In 2019, Reggie Fields stepped away from his role as president and chief operating officer of Nintendo America, a position he held since 2006. But his time with and love of Nintendo stretches further back than his tenure as president. Fields joined Nintendo in 2003 as an executive vice president of sales and marketing, and long before that, he obsessed over games like Super Mario World and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Yeah. All right. And at E3 2004, he introduced himself to the world by saying, "My name is Reggie. I'm about kicking ass and taking names, and we're about making games." With those famous words, Fields was catapulted into internet fame, becoming the subject of memes seemingly every time he appeared on stage. But to write him off solely as a meme machine would be to discount his strong record as a marketer and leader within the ranks of Nintendo of America. All right, I'll go to the end. Okay, your book begins with an emotional gut punch as you recall your final meetings with Satoru Iwata. When you think about his legacy, is it even possible to properly frame what he meant to Nintendo? I actually have to step further back and think about what he meant to the industry. There's no one who has been involved in some of the top selling systems in the top selling games and franchises the way he was. Everything from his involvement to the early NES and NES and SNES content, Game Boy, he made an indelible mark on Game Boy content, and his involvement even on the periphery of key franchises like Pokemon, his beginning there at the inception of the franchises like Kirby and Smash Brothers, obviously his personal mark on Nintendo DS, the 3DS, the Wii, even the Switch carries his hallmark. He touched Nintendo certainly in an incredible way, but what he did for the industry and helping move the industry forward is something that has to be acknowledged. Okay, there goes Miyamoto and the late Satoru with Reggie. Nice pick there. Appreciate y'all, boys. Growing up gaming. How much game time should children get in a day? Good question. We know how long movies and TV shows are when we boot them up for our kids to watch. Video games are all over the map when it comes to time commitments. Depending on what game your child selects, saying they play for just 1 hour can lead to wildly different results when the timer reaches 0. You may catch them at the perfect moment to conclude for the night, but most of the time you'll stop their playing when they are trying to accomplish something. Don't be surprised if your child's first instinct is to ask for more time. They either want to see the journey through to the end or finish something they're working on. If a game's functionality doesn't record every second your child puts in, they could grow irritated knowing their efforts were for naught. Skip to the last paragraph. I think about stress about it too much, but I know I will find something eventually. Parenting isn't easy, especially when video games are better than ever. I adore that my daughter has turned them into a social experience, but I don't want her staring at a screen all day. It's a struggle. No easy answer. All right, the gamer's graduation gifts. Some headphones for the audiophile. A Gandalf, I don't really be knowing. For the D&D player, a cube, ooze, whatever you call it. For racing aficionados, a flyer. Boba Fett Xbox One controller. That is 179 smackaroos. Leia. $200 statue. Drone. A whole stack. A laptop monitor. $260. Okay, laptop monitor. Elden Ring, $60. All right, The Dark Side of the Moon. All right, we on 37 minutes. The Dead Space creator returns to reclaim his spot in the sci-fi horror scene with the Callisto Protocol. Okay, answers my question. Jupiter looms large, serving as an imposing backdrop as cargo ship pilot Jacob Lee crashes on the gas giant's second biggest moon. Our solar system's largest planet may play host to a seemingly eternal storm, but something far fiercer is brewing on Callisto. It's here that the creator of the Dead Space series, Glenn Schofield, stages perhaps his most horrifying project yet. Released 2022. Set 300 years in the future, the Callisto Protocol unmistakably carries Schofield's creative DNA. But through innovative technology and uncompromised vision and lessons learned from decades of development experience, Striking Distance Studios feels it has something more than a spiritual successor on its hands. The Callisto Protocol challenges players to face their fears as they descend into the depths of a lunar prison, overrun by monstrous infected humans, and uncover what happened to one of our great hopes for life beyond Earth. We witnessed never before seen gameplay and spent hours picking the brains of Striking Distance Studios veteran developers to learn how this team is creating one of the scariest, most intense games of 2022. Man, that seemed like one huge run-on sentence. Okay, no. 2 long sentences. All right. back to the drawing board. In 2019, Schofield took a trip out to the desert to get away from the hustle and bustle of the game industry. Just months prior, he had left Activision, a publisher with whom he'd worked for nearly a decade. While there, he helped lead a studio he co-founded Sledgehammer Games, as it worked on 3 mainline Call of Duty titles, Modern Warfare 3, Advanced Warfare, and World War II. Schofield eventually transitioned to an executive role within Activision before leaving the company less than a year later. And he decided to take some time off and plot his next move. Skipping around. The result is the Callisto Protocol, the next evolution of Schofield's frightful formula, and the final product is anything close. If the final product is anything close to how tense and horrifying the exclusive gameplay we witnesses, fans of the sci-fi horror genre are in for a treat. This dude, nice landscapes. Tension and apprehension. Shortly after our protagonist, Jacob Lee, portrayed by Josh Duhamel of Las Vegas, Jupiter's Legacy, and Call of Duty World War II, crash lands on the moon with mysterious cargo, he's thrown into the massive prison that exists in the shadows of our solar system's largest planet. The good news is Jacob's not locked up for long. However, that brings us to the bad news. Something has happened on the moon, and all hell has broken loose. Now Jacob is caught in a desperate struggle to survive the unspeakable horrors of Callisto and his menacing prison, and get to the bottom of what caused this outbreak of mutated humans known as biophase. Interesting. Cool looking biophase. Prison. Japanese text on the walls. On the glass. Put them on the glass. Skipping around. Headbutt alien biophase. Okay, the PUBG Connection. When Striking Distance Studios were founded in 2019, one of the first pieces of news to emerge surrounding the Callisto Protocol was that it takes place in the universe of the popular Battle Royale game, Player Unknown Battlegrounds. What? When I asked Striking Distance CEO and game director of the Callisto Protocol, Glenn Schofield, about its relationship with PUBG, he assures players that they don't need to worry about missing out on the experience if they're unfamiliar with the Battle Royale title. The idea of us being in the universe at first sounded really good, and then you start coming up with your story and we realize, wow, this is a little out there, he says. We built some touch points, and you'll find them throughout the game, like Easter eggs and things like that. Instead of direct references to PUBG or the Battle Royale competition depicted in that game, Striking Distance views the PUBG universe as a timeline of stories that are connected by themes of survival. This is particularly true when you consider how far into the future the Callisto Protocol takes place. When we came in, they had a lore team and they were writing this big story like, where does PUBG start? Where does it fit in? Schofield says, they write this giant timeline and our writers are involved in helping. We sit on the timeline, but we sit pretty far out there and kind of alone. So if they ever make another game, let's say that's after our timeline, I would imagine our game will inform that more than we are being informed by their timeline. Interesting. Okay, what about the Dead Space remake? After 7 months after Striking Distance Studios announced the Callisto Protocol, EA revealed it was making the original Dead Space. CEO of Striking Distance Studios and the Callisto Protocol game director Glenn Schofield created Dead Space while they worked at EA in the 2000s. While he's happy to see the series, which last received a new entry in 2013, live on, he's somewhat conflicted about the reveal of a remake of a 2008 game he created. I took the announcement as a compliment. I still do take it as a compliment, Schofield says. I'm still kind of bummed about it too. That's the weird thing. Like, you're not you're not attached to your own game. It's a weird feeling. They want to make a game better than the one you made. I do wish them well because I want to see the franchise live. That's where I want to be. I want to play it. I want them to do well. I'm glad the franchise is now given a second life. Yeah, but as I said before, the only Dead Space I played was the one on iPad, which was cool for an iPad. One. Unflinching visual realized. After seeing the Callisto Protocol in action and speaking with the team, it's clear that the mantra of quality about which Schofield was so adamant when he founded Striking Distance Studios, he persisted throughout the development of his debut title. Despite looking at several sequences worth of gameplay and chatting for hours about what we saw, Striking Distance Studios is playing his cards close to the vest. Further details about the game's character, story, and what other horrors await as we dig deeper into the conspiracy of what happened on Jupiter's second largest moon are saved for when we play the final product. Man, that for sure seems like a big run-on sentence. Alright, yeah, that's what that is. Alright, 45 minutes. 5 under-the-radar horror games you need to play. Resident Evil 4 VR. I played it regular. It was different. Let's see what different. Nearly 20 years later, the Resident Evil 4 VR is one of the best and freshest ways to play this horror classic. Yeah. The Evil Within 2. There was plenty of big talk around the first Evil Within, mainly due to the director, Shinji Mikami. It was his return to survival horror, a genre he helped invent and popularize with the very first Resident Evil, and then revolutionized with the aforementioned Resident Evil 4. It was also the first game from Bethesda-backed studio Tango Gameworks. Okay. Fatal Frame, Maiden of Black Water. That's a big Saturn game, or yeah, I think Saturn game. The Fatal Frame series never got a fair shake, wholly overshadowed by the Japanese horror game titans, Resident Evil and Silent Hill. But if you like horror that robs you of power, you owe it to yourself to play Fatal Frame. When Maiden of Blackwater was first released back in 2014, it was raked over the coals by most critics, including Game Informer, which gave it a 5.5. However, a new Switch port has smoothed over some of the rough edges, unless you want to track down a PS2 or Xbox and a copy of the original few FF games. That is your best bet for getting one of Japan's best horror series. Yeah, that Fatal Frame, I think that's like a $200 game or something crazy like that. Okay, Doki Doki Literature Club. Last paragraph. We can't say much for fear of spoilers, but after the setup, Doki sends the player straight to hell. Suicide, decomposing bodies, vomit, corrupted save files, and more awaits you, subverting every trope in the visual novel formula. It's one of the bleakest games in recent memory and will haunt you long after you finish playing. Wow, that sounds like something I should experience one of these days. Visage. Remember PT, that playable teaser? Yeah, I remember hearing about that. As it's called, for the now canceled Silent Hills director by Metal Gear Solid creator Hideo Kojima in collaboration with Guillermo del Toro. It's easily one of the scariest games, quote unquote, of all time. And now that you can't play it anymore because they took it off the service, sure, Silent Hills almost certainly wasn't in production yet, but the ideas of what it could have been based on PT will long haunt us. Luckily, the spirit of PT lives on across the game industry. Most notably in the indie space, where developers have taken the teaser's core ideas and turned them into something great. Case in point, Visage, or as my colleague and former Game Informer senior editor Dan Tech likes to call it, the scariest game of all time. Well, get that into the frame. Functionally, Visage plays out like a Visage plays out a lot like PT. A man kills his family, dooms his own home to hauntings, and now as the player, you have to deal with it. But where some horror games rely on blood and gore to scare the player, Visage is a threat to your psyche. What you think you might see is always far scarier than what you do see. We never we will never play Silent Hills, but you can play Visions on just about every modern console, and we recommend you do. It's one of the best psychological horror games to date, transcending its source material and finding its place in the horror game canon. Crazy. The Invincible. It's all fairly standard video game fare, though the source material is an interesting starting point. Lim, known for his approach to hard sci-fi, and the world of the Invincible feels well received and believable within its friction. It's perfectly conceivable to imagine it translating to a video game well, where players are incentivized to explore, experiment within, and discover the world around them. And for the next hour with insights from the team, I have the chance to do just that. Dense. It doesn't take long to figure out the Invincible is a slow game, both literally and narratively. It takes time to do just about anything, from walking to your objective. There is thankfully a sprint button, which I found after some time in the menus, to listening to Yasna in the Astrogator talk, which they do a lot. Okay, I had this one great feeling when I was playing Persona 5, where after an hour and a half of playing the game, I actually had to stop, go outside, and have a cigarette and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe what this game is about. Star Wars community manager Michael Napora says maybe people don't need to go at it in this extreme way, go out and smoke cigarettes, but it'd be cool if they finished the game and maybe thought about some things that they didn't think about before. Alright, one more paragraph before that. I don't think that particular moment has anything interesting to say, or anything other games haven't already explored in great detail, such as 2017's Nier Automata, for example. But I do like a video game asking these questions, if only because it's a rare example of a big budget game taking the time to explore more nuanced, mature questions, even if a specific moment isn't adding too much to the conversation. In its current form, I have problems with how the Invincible is telling its story structurally, but I can't help but feel like its themes are a welcome change of pace, and I feel that's exactly what Star Wars is going for. The developers want players to think about the new concepts and ideas. Okay. Hogwarts Legacy. The new look into the Avalanche Games' title promises a wide-ranging and immersive journey into the wizarding world, though we'll have to wait and see if all the ingredients make a potent brew when the game hits later this year. Myth Force. Hey, looks like that Dragon's Lair old game. Cell shading. Myth Force may not be a life-stopping epic, but it does seem like a fun excuse to hang out with friends while playing the hero in a nostalgic world. The developers jokingly refer to the game you would play in between Elden Ring, and I'm inclined to agree. From what I saw, Myth Force is a game that winks through its fanciful bygone packaging to offer players a lighthearted yet satisfying experience. Valkyrie Elysium, last paragraph. Although this is a dramatic shift for the franchise, one familiar element remains intact. Longtime series composer Motoi Sakuraba returns to helm the soundtrack, giving Elysium a sound that harkens back to Valkyrie Profile's roots. We still have many questions about Valkyrie Elysium, but Square is keeping additional info close to the chest until later date. We can't wait to learn more about the reinvention of the beloved series and look forward to diving in when Valkyrie Elysium launches on PlayStation consoles and PC later this year. Hyper Lightbreaker. I'm thrilled to hear that the talented team at Heart Machine is returning to the beautiful game world established in its first game. Early glimpses suggest a very promising and visually arresting title, but players will have a long wait to see the finished product. Even early access isn't planned until sometime in 2023. Heart Machine, Hyper Light Drifter. Yeah, I don't think I know too much about this. Sonic Origins. While fans eagerly await to learn more about Sonic Frontiers, the next mainline Sonic the Hedgehog game set to launch later this year, Sega is giving fans a chance to relive some of the greatest adventures through the Sonic Origins Connection. Announced in 2021, this compilation includes Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and Sonic CD in one celebratory bundle. While that initial announcement gave us a taste, we caught up with the creative officer and head of Sonic Team, Takashi Iizuka, to learn more about what to expect. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've all played these games. Diablo Immortal, couple cycle to strife with other systems like Heliquary raids, a seemingly expansive endgame, loot galore, and customization to the Ching, says it's the deepest in any Diablo game ever, and I'm rearing to fight back against the hordes of hell this June. Alright, first paragraph. On the surface, Diablo Immortal looks like a traditional Diablo game. Demons are everywhere, flashy animations accompany your skeleton crushing moves, and the gothic architecture screams you're in Sanctuary. However, under deeper inspection, a lot is new in Diablo Immortal, which was developed from the ground up for mobile devices. I remember they complained so bad about it that at BlizzCon. But while Diablo Immortal is also coming to PC in open beta on June 2nd. Okay, that date is already passed. The same day the full game launches on iOS and Android in most regions, you shouldn't expect a conventional Diablo experience. Yeah, June 4th today. Okay, Hello Neighbor. Don't Love Thy Neighbor. Hey, oh yeah, Hello Neighbor 2. Okay, Hello Neighbor 2 is a follow-up to 2017's Hello Neighbor, which itself became a bit of a cult hit due to its popularity in streaming and on YouTube. The sequel is clearly looking to up the ante, and expanding on the neighbor dodging stealth at the heart of the first game by adding more enemies to avoid, houses and businesses to explore, and tools to your arsenal. After playing through the beta, I'm still not sure all of what is enough to really pull me in when it's released later this year, because simply put, it did little to wow me. That said, it's clear that Tiny Build and Eerie Guests have worked hard to make it perform, play, and look better than the first, and a little curious to see what the final build looks like in December. Big huge Kermit the Frog with a beak by that Ferris wheel. Looks cool. Wrestle Quest, World Wrestling Role Playing. Interesting. Okay. Developer Mega Cat's love of pro wrestling shines in Wrestle Quest. The team incorporated input from current and former stars and even created its own in-game wrestling jargon, Slam Junkies, including Slam Junkies instead of marks. You can take Muchacho Man, not Macho Man, to Championship Gold later this year when Wrestle Quest comes to PS5, Xbox XS1, and PS4, Switch, and PC. A new party member. That is interesting. Alright, and then Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I got Xenoblade Chronicles 2 right in the plastic in there. The enemy in Ouroboros designs make me excited to get back on the battlefield. As the trailer hinted, it's a wild ride, this Passage of Fate. second to last paragraph. New is the interlock system where if you meet certain conditions, specific pairs such as Noah and Mio can combine into a giant form called Ouroboros. Each Ouroboros has a unique design and abilities, and their existence appears tied to the plot. Deciding when to transform is also a key to successful strategies. First paragraph. We often see games delayed from their initial release windows, but Nintendo gave Xenoblade's fans a pleasant surprise when it moved Xenoblade Chronicles 3 launch up from September to July 29th. The new entry, which has a central theme of life, promises to connect the futures of the previous two games. A new trailer also showcased what's next for one of the top RPG franchises around. Okay. Saints Row. Nice graphics. Gunjam. In this hectic FPS, rhythm is your life. Shooting baddies and dashing around the delightfully colorful levels require precise timing. Like many rhythm games, players see a prompt constantly scrolling down the middle of the screen, which they must match to make shots count. The art and music are vibrant, and the game aims to just feel fun. Superfuse. With enough skill trees to ensure your customized enforcer plays precisely the way you want, Superfuse stitches together frantic action with a comic book inspired story. Humanity has long abandoned Earth, and the wealthy control everything. They funded science advancements, giving themselves everlasting life, and use superpowers to fight horrifying monsters called the Corruption. Starfield, Bethesda Game Studios title set in space, in which you'll have a fun little robot companion named Vasco. Shown in recent trailer, Vasco will help you with exploration and perhaps the need arise even combat. Starfield is slated for release on November 11th. A Dark Pictures anthology, The Devil in Me. The Devil in Me is the season finale for the Dark Pictures anthology. It follows the documentary crew exploring a replica of H.H. Holmes' infamous murder castle, only to find themselves hunted by a mysterious killer. Actress Jessie Buckley stars as protagonist Kate Wilder, and fans can hopefully survive new choice-driven scares later this year. Rivals 2. 8-bit visuals, robust platform fighter. I heard about this one, the first one. Flat Eye management sim premise belies its deeper, unnerving narrative. As a gas station employee, you begin with stocking shelves and ringing up customers, but as the story grows, so too does your retail operation and the invasiveness of its technology. While commenting on in-game incidents, Flat Eye eerily echoes technology's real-world anxieties. Warhammer 40k, Darktide. Darktide builds upon the cooperative fun of Vermintide series, but moves the action from fantasy to sci-fi. Up to 4 players work together to mow down waves of baddies with powerful firearms and melee attacks. Warhammer 40k, Darktide aims to remind players that the friends who slay together stay together when it launches on September 13th. World of Warcraft Dragonflight. The long-running MMO has a new expansion on the way, and the watchword is definitely dragons. Players visit the long-rumored Dragon Isles, explored a new dragon riding system, and may try out a newly playable class race combo called the Drakthir Evoker, basically a humanoid dragon. Taken together, the new adventure promises plenty of fun with the most popular of fantasy creatures, Ninja Dragon Riders. All right, my time at Sandrock. Okay, looks like you're farming on Mars. Return to Monkey Island, the classic. At one point, series creator Ron Gilbert might have said he'd never make another Monkey Island. Things changed, apparently. Return to Monkey Island is the sequel to The Secret of Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, developed by a lot of the people who made the original games. Return is planned for 2022 release. Reviews. Norco got a 9.25. A nice, excellent 3D pixel graphics. That's a fool. Last paragraph. I've never played a game like Norco, which elegantly celebrates and admonishes its cultural roots while simultaneously chronicling a strange doomsday scenario. Kay and Catherine's Shattered America is not so dismal form of our own burgeoning industrial complexes threaten to displace low-income families. Automated systems supersede human workers, and the filthy rich work around the clock to deter upward mobility. The game isn't always gloomy. It can't be. One cool night, I sit atop City Hall and gazed at the constellations with a stranger. Hours earlier, I flipped through treasured memories on a faulty flat-screen TV. Norco is an unforgettable reminder that there is an inherent beauty behind the madness. Game sounds excellent. Okay, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga got an 8. Despite being periodically uneventful, The Skywalker Saga is a thorough and fun examination of all 3 Star Wars movie trilogies. It delivers the same sensation of being overwhelmed as opening Blu-ray collection of the films and not knowing which one you should start with. The player can bounce between trilogies and veer off a story path at any time to explore the galaxy far, far away. Some discoveries may be as dull as sand, but others may deliver something great, like Babu Frick as a playable character, or seeing what Kylo Ren's bedroom looks like. Babu Frick. Weird West. Weird West subverts expectations, twisting well-trodden cowboy tropes into a dark fantasy vignettes. Elements 8.5. Trek to Yomi 6.75. Sadly, Trek to Yomi feels noticeably outdated for such an aesthetically pleasing game, and its arcade gameplay can't be completely covered up by its artistic black and white filter. Trek to Yomi tried to reach the heights of lauded Japanese filmmaking, but unfortunately it falls almost as flat as its 2D combat plane. 6.75. Nintendo Switch Sports 7.5. After a few fun-filled hours, I experienced all of Nintendo Switch Sports' playable components and occasionally lost interest after long stints of grinding. Switch Sports doesn't step out from Wii Sports' long shadow, but it's still a solid runner-up. Loot River 8.5. Loot River reimagines some of the inspiration's best elements, offering players a chance to sail cleverly through each environment, grow powerful enough to slice up once impossible threats, and unravel a story that smartly weaves into the gameplay. 8.5. MLB The Show 22. 8.5. MLB The Show 22 doesn't put up an all-star performance this year, but continues to be consistent in all avenues of play and finds new ways to make you want to spend time in the ballpark. 8.5. Kirby and the Walk Down Memory Lane. Last paragraph. Satoru Iwata served as Nintendo president before his death in 2015, but before he ascended to the lofty rank, Iwata was a programmer and later president at HAL Laboratory, working on the formative Kirby titles among other projects. He had many talents, but freehand drawing was not among them, judging from the image above. No, I mean, that look good. What you talking about? Man, I mean, them straight Kirby's. Anyway, beginning the dream. Kirby did not have his now iconic copy powers when he first flew onto the 8-bit scene, but the character nonetheless spent the early games transforming. When Sakurai began working on what would eventually become Kirby's Dream Land, he created a quick spherical model for the main character. It was meant as a placeholder until the team could mock up a more intricate design. Fans will never know what that more sophisticated character might have looked like because the developers grew attached to the simplistic and cute figure. With a few tweaks, Kirby's round form was born. The name of the protagonist, as well as the game, was in flux throughout development. Kirby was originally dubbed Popopo, and they kind of used that for Robobo, that last game I played at Kirby's. And thus, the various titles the studio entertained for the game included this nomenclature. The continuous alterations led to the franchise's first title getting a few interesting marketing variations. For example, it's possible to find publishers' references to Twinkle Popo and an early game title in Kirby's Dream Land. Official North American cover art features a pale protagonist rather than the pink one Surakai envisioned. Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Let's start from the beginning. Yep, I got this one right in 92, right as it dropped. Love that one. Kirby Dreamland. Kirby's Adventures, I never had that one on the NES. Dreamland 2, don't think I ever had that one. Man, okay, look like Kirby drop every year, like Tupac or Jay-Z or something. Kirby's SNES, I had that one. No, I didn't have that one. Kirby Dreamland 3. Kirby and the Crystal Shards, 64. Kirby Nightmares in Dreamland, didn't have that one. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Game Boy Advance, sure didn't have that. Kirby Squeak Squad. Okay, he lost a year in 2007. Kirby Superstar Ultra DS. Kirby Return to Dreamland on the Wii. I don't even think I played that one. Kirby Dream Collection Wii. Kirby Triple Deluxe 3DS. Kirby Planet Robobo, that one was good. Kirby Star Allies 2018. Kirby and the Forgotten Land on the Switch. I guess that was out. Okay, anyway, last paragraph. According to a report by GamesIndustry.biz, the title broke the series' launch records in the UK, outselling the previous first week record holder nearly 3 times over. And interestingly, its predecessor was fellow Switch title Kirby Star Allies. It seems the mascot is gaining momentum on the latest Nintendo console, and fans are more excited than ever to see what Kirby to see where Kirby goes next. Okay, and Dead Space. I'll read this last thing and then I'll be out. Horror or comedy, which is harder? For this issue's cover story, we spoke with Glenn Schofield about his team's new project, Callisto Project, page 36, which draws inspiration from his early work on Dead Space. The game director has a 30-plus year history in gaming across various genres, including early comedy and animation projects for franchises like Ren and Stimpy, Rocky and Bullwinkle, and Home Alone. I think it's easier to do comedy, believe it or not, because you can be sarcastic, you can be, there's all different types of humor, Schofield says, and there's a lot of just situational humor and looking at the world. Horror is pretty hard to do. Comedy, I just felt it came a little easier. The timing is even harder on comedy. No, the timing is even harder on horror than it is on comedy. The timing is down to the 100th of a second, especially with the sound, like a stinger. It's got to be right. If it's off by a 1/10 of a second, it's not scary. It's weird. Makes sense. All right. Live long and prosper. Like, comment, subscribe. Holler at your folk.